Stay tuned to learn how to code the Pythagorean Theorem in Manim. Here's another video in the series where I'm participating in the Animation Generation Challenge put on by the Talking Maths in Public website. You can see that there's already been 2 months, the circle and sine curve and the polyhedron net, and then May of 2025 is to animate the Pythagorean Theorem. I've done this a number of times on my YouTube channel. I have a entire playlist, and I even have already a compilation video of my top 10 favorite visual proofs. But I have lots of them there, and I thought about trying to do one of those that I've already done, and I realized there was one that I've done in short format, and I haven't done it in wide format yet. So I'm going to try to put it together, and then I'll put out that video when the time comes. So without further ado, let's head on over to my coding environment here. This is PyCharm, and you can see I've already set up my Manim library import. I have all named the class PT Hinged because this is a hinge dissection showing the Pythagorean theorem, and I have set two things. I have set a blue color and a deep red color. I'm going to draw a triangle with side lengths or leg lengths 3 and 2, and so I've set those in just so that I could change those if I ever wanted to get a bigger triangle or a smaller triangle. So the first thing that I need to do is I need to draw the triangle. And to do this, it's a polygon, and I'll just set it. Right now, I'll start it at 0, 0, 0. I want it to be, I guess, probably taller than it is wide, so I will go B, 0, 0, and then I will go to 0, A, 0. And hopefully, with any luck, I guess I'll set this to be blue and the opacity to 1. I can just add the triangle to my scene, and then when I go over and run this, it should load up, and hopefully it shows the blue triangle. There it is right there, nice sort of blue triangle. I don't like, this is the center right here, and I don't like that it's not centered. So right now I'm gonna move the camera, self.camera.frame, move it to the triangle. So what this code does here is it centers the frame right around the triangle. We will now see the triangle is kind of centered in the frame. Next thing we want to do is we want to sort of show the Pythagorean theorem. So we want to draw an A square and we want to draw a B square. So I'll label those both. And again, these are going to be polygons. This one's going to be a polygon with side length A. So it goes from 0, 0, 0, A, 0, 0, A, 0, and 0, A, 0. I can copy and paste that code, paste it down here, and then I want my B square as well. B, 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 and B. I'm going to set these to be red. So the deep red color. And again, the opacity is going to be 1. Okay. So copy that, and we'll turn both of these that way. That spacing is off. Okay. Right now it'll just draw them where they are. So I also need to make sure that I move the A square. So I'm going to shift it. And the way I'm going to do this is I want to shift this right corner here, A0, 0. I want to shift that so that it sits at the 0, 0, 0 of the triangle. So I want to shift the A square. And to shift the A square, I want to do it A square dot get vertices. And I think I want the first vertex. Again, this is the 0th vertex, the 1, the 2, and the 3rd vertex. So now I should be able to see what that looks like. Instead of just adding the triangle, I can add a square as well. For now, I'm not drawing anything. I'm just trying to draw them. And that's right. So it drew the A by A square, and then it shifted it so that that vertex, which is the first vertex, 0, the first vertex for the square, is lined up with the 0, 0, 0. I now want to do the same thing with the B square. I want to put the B square so that it shifts, but now I want the 0B0. I think that's what I want to do, so that shifts. And we'll see if I've done that right. Let's see if that's the third that's the third vertex. And we'll do V square, and we'll see if it did it. And there we go. So it drew the A by A square, it drew the B by B square, and that's looking pretty cool. Okay, so the way this proof is going to work, is what I sort of want to do is I want to line these two squares up side by side, and then I want to sort of draw two triangles in there. So I'm going to need a copy of the triangle. So I'll call it triangle 2, and it's just the triangle, but it's a copy. And then I need to take the triangle 2 and I need to rotate it. I'm going to rotate it pi over 2, I think. We'll see what that looks like. And then what I want is I want this triangle rotated, and I want the rotated version of this vertex up here to align with that vertex over there. So I need to shift. What I need to do is shift the top vertex, which is the second vertex of triangle 2. So I need to shift that to the origin. Triangle 2 dot shift, dot get vertices. And that was the second vertex. And I want to shift it, so I'm going to add it to the triangle get vertices, and I'm going to shift it to the first one. So we'll see what that looks like. And if we're lucky, oh, perfect. So you can see it took a rotated copy of the blue triangle, and then it took that vertex, shifted it temporarily to the origin, and then added it over here. So it's sort of a vector addition type thing, and it put those two side by side. Now the goal for this theorem then is to keep those two blue triangles in front. So I'll show how to do that in a second. And then I'm going to shift this a by a square to the right, and I'm going to shift this b by b square over to the right, and they should fill in the entire triangle. At this point, I need to start drawing the things. So self.play, I'm going to take the a square, I'm going to animate shifting it, and I'm going to shift it a units to the right. At the same exact time, I'm going to take the b square, and I'm going to shift it a units to the right plus b units up. And you use right and up, and those are give you the vectors, 1, 0, 0, and 0, 1, 0. I'm not going to run it fast, but we'll see what this looks like. And so if I do that right now, I have an error, and that's because in the b square I forgot to actually call animate. So when you're just shifting things around in the code, you just use .shift, but when you're actually doing it in a play environment, you have to animate the shift. Okay, so now let's try that again. So we see all the things are added, and then they shift over. Now, something you can see is that because I added this triangle last, it's still in front, but I lost that other blue triangle because it's behind the red triangle here. So one way to get around that is I can add an updater, which I generally call these updaters fronter, and I just mean I want to keep the object to front. So I've defined, it's going to be called fronter, it's going to take in an object, m-object, and it is going to do self.bring to front, all lowercase, and it's going to bring that object to the front. And so I should be able to then add the updater to fronter to, I'm going to add it to both triangles, but really, as I've seen, I don't actually need it to be added to triangle 2, but just for the sake of it, I'm going to be there. And so now when I run this, you can see that blue triangle always stayed in front. The animation was a little fast, but we'll fix that in a minute. Now's the key part of the animation. What I want to do is I want to take these two blue triangles and I want to swing them around this vertex and this vertex respectively. And when you do that, they line up and they form a square. And the square is given by it has the side length given by these two lengths, but those are both the hypotenuse of the original triangle, which is going to be side length C. However, if I just do that rotation, you're still going to see that red two squares underneath. And there's this line which I don't really love. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a new polygon that draws this shape right here, sort of this carved out shape by the blue two triangles. So to do that, I just create a polygon. So I'll go up here. I've already drawn a polygon, which is a square. I don't really know what to call this one, so I'll just call it tile shape. It's sort of this weird broken tile. So I think it was a tile shape. And it's going to start here. So this is the vertex 2. Again, the vertices go 0, 1, and 2. So it's vertex 2 of the triangle. So the first vertex here is the triangle dot get vertices, and that's vertex 2. Then it's going to go down and it goes to that one, which is that triangle, the triangle, but it's the vertex numbered 1. Then it's going to go to this one over here, which because that corresponds to that vertex, it's the other triangle, and it's also vertex 1. So that's triangle 2, get vertices 1. Then it goes here. So this is the vertex numbered 3 on the B square. So B square, get vertices 3. Oops, that says 3. And then it goes to, this is the vertex numbered 2 on A square, I think. So A square dot get vertices, and if we're lucky, 2. And the goal here is we should then fade that in, self.play, fade in the tile shape. And if we're lucky, what happens when we animate this, oops, I did it too early, and I clearly missed something. So I have to figure out exactly what I did wrong, because that shape does not look right to me. This time I'm going to try and draw it this way. So I'm going to go from this particular square. I'm going to start with A square, and get vertices, and I'm going to call that get vertices. I guess that's get vertices 3. So I hope that's right. And I'm going to go to A square dot get vertices 2, and then I'm going to go to B square dot get vertices, and I'm going to try 3. And I'm going to see, I'm going to fill that yellow. So right now I'm just troubleshooting. I'm going to fill that yellow, and I'm going to try to figure out, I got to go capital yellow for built-in Manim colors. Okay, so something clearly has gone wrong there, because it thinks that A square is still over there, even though I have shifted A square. Oh, because I drew that after or before shifting. So now if I do it, I should see it goes there and it fades in there. Okay, good. I want to go that B square. All right, finally back on track here. B square 3, B square 2. And then I have to get down to this right here, and this vertex right here should be the triangle's vertex, get vertices, and that should be the first vertex. So if we're lucky when we fade this in, it should fade in yellow. Perfect. It fades in just like that. I no longer need it yellow. I'm going to go back to deep red. And now you can see what we did is we faded in this shape, and it made that line disappear. But more importantly, it is a shape that's now all on its own. Now those two squares, A square and B square as I've called them, they're still there, but I can remove them from the back of the shape, and you should see nothing happen. The only thing that's happened is that new tile faded in, and I removed the A square and the B square so that they're gone back there. And what I should be able to do now then is I should just be able to rotate this blue triangle maybe 270 degrees, so 3 pi over 2 that way, and I should be able to rotate this blue triangle 270 degrees, 3 pi over 2 that way, and there should be nothing behind them anymore. That's sort of the magic of removing things in the background. You can't see it. Before I do that, I have added these fronters, these fronter updaters. I'm going to remove those now because now those things are in front. Okay, and so now for the big reveal, self.play, I want to take the triangle, which is the original. I want to rotate that triangle, rotate the triangle. I want to rotate it 3 times pi over 2, and I want to rotate it about the point equals, so what point do I want to rotate it about? I don't have it there anymore. I think I want to rotate it about the top vertex, and I think the top vertex was the last one. I'm pretty sure maybe I have rotated it the wrong direction, so let's just see. And yes, that was the wrong direction, so I think I want to make it negative. Let's try that one more time now. There we go, and it rotates, and you can see it's going to form a nice square here in 1 second. All I have to do is at the same time rotate triangle 2. This one I do want to rotate the other direction, so 3 pi over 2, and I want to rotate it about its triangle 2, about its vertex here, which I believe is its first vertex. So let's see if we've done that right. And there we go. And you can see now I've formed a wonderful square. And so that is a C by C square, where C is going to be the hypotenuse of the triangle. At this point, I'm going to create another C square, and I'm going to create it by taking sort of the last vertex of the tile. So we're going to go back and we're going to grab that tile shape. We're going to get its vertices, and the last one, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to grab vertex 4. Then we're going to go over to the tile shape, which was vertex 3. So we'll grab that and copy and paste it. 3. Then we need to go to this up here, which I believe is the second triangle. So triangle 2, get vertices, I believe it's 2. And then we need to get all the way over to here, which was where I started my tile shape. So tile shape, get vertices, and should be 0. I've set that fill, and then again, like I did before, I am going to fade in the C square. And so with any luck, we have our moving, our rotating, and our fade in of a nice perfect square. And once again, in the background, then I should be able to remove the triangle. I should be able to remove triangle 2, and I should be able to remove the tile shape, so that now the only thing left at the end of this is the C square right there. Okay, good. So then what I think would be nice to sort of finish this off would be to go back to the original triangle and make a second copy. So this is a third triangle, and I'm just going to make a triangle.copy. So right here, I'm just copying it and saving it for later. And then right here, I think I'm going to fade that one in. Third triangle, and I'm just going to go straight to the end. What it should do is fade in that triangle right there, and that tells me that that was the side length of the original triangle. What we've gotten out of this is we have taken, so let's see this go slowly. We do that, fade, rotate, and then fade in the blue triangle. Okay. That's pretty much the animation to get sort of the hinge that I want. The only thing that's left then is maybe to sort of add a few pieces of information, in particular some labels and things like that. And I should probably stop doing these things. So for instance, I should draw the border, then fill for the triangle. So I'll do that. I'll run time. I'll let it take about 2 seconds. Then I will do sort of the same thing. So I'll give it a wait so we can see that. I'm going to label those in a second. So you can wait by doing self.wait for a second. Then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to draw the A square, and then I'm going to draw the B by B square, same thing. Then I'll wait again. This time I'll wait 2 seconds so that I can actually see it happen. And then finally, I think, yeah, the thing I want to do now, and I want to do what's called a replacement transform. So replacement transform will take the triangle and it will it'll take it and morph it into its copy triangle 2, and I'll runtime that in 2. The problem is if you do that, that triangle will disappear. So you can just create a copy right here, and it'll take a copy of the triangle and then morph it into that triangle 2. So self.wait. Let's see what this looks like now when it gets started. So we drew our triangle and filled it in. Then we drew our A by A square and filled it in. And we draw our B by B square and fill it in. And then we morph that triangle into a second one, slowly shift the squares up, fade things out, rotate around. So some of that stuff's a little fast. So I sort of want this to happen a little slower, runtime 3, so people can see it happen. Then I want to give them a second to sort of think about that, so 2 seconds. Then I will fade in the tile shape. That'll happen, and I just need a second there. Remove all those things. I want this rotation to be dramatic, so I'm going to runtime it at 3 seconds, actually. And then I'll let that wait for a second. And then I'll fade in the C square and let that wait. And then I'll fade in the third triangle. And then I guess I might as well do the same thing with the A square and the B square. So I'm going to take these 2 squares. So I should just be able to also fade in A square and fade in B square. Oh, that we had moved the A by A square and the C by C square. Okay, so I'm going to call this a squared 2 and b squared 2. And before I did any movement of them, right, so before I did any movement of them here, a squared 2 is a square dot copy. And I'll do the same thing. B squared 2 is b squares copy. And then, like I said, down here, I've faded those two things in. So I'll just go straight to the end of this time. If I'm lucky this time, they should have all been faded in. And so it's supposed to show that those two squares are equal to that square. To sort of finish that off, I'll wait for 2 seconds. Here's an interesting sort of idea to do. I'm going to take the 3 objects. I'm going to create a group. So this is going to be a final equality group. So it's V group. I'm going to take the a square. I'm going to a square 2. I'm going to create a plus sign. I don't know how big it's going to need to be. I'm going to take b squared 2. I'm going to create a tech equal sign. And then I am going to take the c squared 2. And I'm going to make a copy. So it's actually a copy of that. I'm going to take final equality and I'm going to arrange it. I'll arrange it right with not much buffer. Buffer equals 0.5, maybe 2.5. We'll see what that looks like. What this has done is this has created sort of a thing which has all these objects in them. It's arranged them right so that it should be an equality. And then what I want to do is I want to morph all those things in there. So I want to take a squared 2. I want to do a replacement transform. I want to take a squared 2 and I want to turn it into final equality 0. So the 0th object, which is right there. And I want to do that sort of for all the b squares. So b squared 2 ends up being 0, 1, the object number 2 in the group. And then c square, which is not c squared 2, but just c square, that ends up being the last object. You can count or you can just use -1. Runtime equals 2. And so we'll go to like maybe animation 10 here. We'll see it was pan out from here. So we see the rotation. Then we see the square fade in. Then we see the original triangle, the 2 A and B. And then hopefully these things, it didn't happen somehow. Oh, because I called this c squared 2. So we'll try that again. We'll go a little bit later, 14. So with any luck, we see the original triangle fade in, B and B. And then hopefully these 3 things, they sort of all align. Now they align down there, so it's a little bit awkward. I guess I probably want to arrange them right. And then I want to move to self.camera.frame.getCenter. So I'm moving them to the center of the frame, and I'll just go to the end and see. So it moved them so that they line up in a line there. I've got a little more space between them, so I'm going to do that. You'll notice also I didn't fade in the plus sign or the equal sign. So I'm going to do that now. I'm going to fade in final equality 1. The first object in final equality is the plus sign. And I'm going to fade in final equality, I believe 2, 3 is the equal sign. We'll try again now. Okay, so now I have that plus sign, that equal sign. I guess I maybe want those things to go down just a little because the last idea I have is, so I can go to the center, but I'm going to subtract like 1 unit maybe. And then I am going to shift the 3rd triangle, animate shift. I'm going to shift it up and we'll see what that looks like in the end. Okay, so that's about as low as it goes. I think I can go up 2 with the triangle, and with any luck, yes, good. So it should show the triangle and then it should show those things there. So the only thing missing from this is some labels, but let's see what the whole animation looks like at this point. We draw the triangle, we fade in the a by a square, we fade in the b by b square, and then we take a second copy of the triangle. We shift the a by a square and the b by b square over so that they sit and fill there. We fade in a new tile shape, which is that shape. We rotate the 2 triangles around, and we end up with the area of a c by c square. And then that means that the original 2 squares were equal to the 3rd. And all we need to do then is sort of add some labels to this. And so that would take a little bit of time, but hopefully not too much. Okay, so what do we need to do here? We need to go back and we need to label some things. So we go all the way back to the triangle. The triangle hasn't moved. So right in here, I'm going to do my A label, which is just a tech object A. And I want it to be next to the triangle. I want it to be on the left side. And I want a buffer of 0.5. We'll see what that looks like. Then I want to do the same thing. I want my B label to be a tech object B. I want it to be down below the triangle. And then I need my C object. This one's going to be the most complicated. My C label, C, what it needs to do is it needs to be next to, and then I'm going to create the line, which is the triangle dot get vertices 1 and the triangle dot get vertices 2. So that's going to create the line between those two vertices. I want to draw next to that, and then I want to do, I guess I probably want it to be up plus right. So up and to the right with a buff of 0.5. And let's see what that does. So after we draw the triangle for X in, so we can do A label, can do a for loop, B label, and C label. We can self.play, we can write the object X. And since there's short letters, I'm going to make the runtime 0.5. So let's try this real quick and see. Oh, so it didn't like that. I've got some unmatched vertices. So I want to do next to the line. I want to close the line off, which I did right there. Okay. And so let's see what this looks like. So it draws that, and then it draws A, B, and C. Those are way too far. So I want my buffers to be quite small. Let's try 0.5, 0.5, and I have a feeling this one might not be the best, but let's just try it. So let's see where we're at here. A, B, and C. The C is still really far over there. I've drawn a line between the two vertices. So I guess I'm going to move them to that line. And then I won't do up plus right. So let's see what that does for me. That's going to put it, with any luck, right in the center of that line. Okay, good. So now I can just shift it a little bit. So I want to shift it maybe even just a little bit right. Let's do maybe 4. And we'll try one more time. See if it's there. That's a little bit nicer. Okay. Now notice all of those disappeared when I drew the squares. So one way around that is to take my updater right here and just move it a little higher. So I'm going to move that updater right here. And when I play them, I am going to x.add the updater fronter. So if we're lucky at all, it will draw that, keep the A in front, draw that, keep the B in front, and then that's it. Okay. So now I need to put some labels. I want an A squared label and a B squared label, and I want to move those to the squares. So right around here, I'm going to do A squared label, B squared label. It's a I'm going to do this separately here. I'll say by it in a second. So I do this in a second, squared. And I want to move this to the A square. I don't want to put it next to. I want to move it to. And that means these are all gone. So I move it to the A square. I move it to the B square. And yeah, there we go. And then once I draw those squares, I need to wait 1 second. Then I want to self.play. I want to transform matching shapes. I want to take A label and I want to move it to a 2 label, the 0th part. So that's going to move it to this thing right here. And I need to then fade in or write, I'll write it. I'll write A2 label 1. So let's see if this works. It should draw the square and draw the B by B square, and then it should move this A and square it. Good. So now I'm just going to do the exact same thing. I'll give it 1 second wait. Then I'll do the same thing with B labels, B squared label, and write B squared label. We go here, go back in here, we do A label. Let's see. So we see that it's drawn the A by A square and the B by B square. A goes to A squared, B goes to B squared, and then we can rotate. So that looks pretty good. So now what we want to do is we want to wait 2 seconds so that we can let that digest. And then we want to we'll move the triangle for a second, and then we will self.play, fade out the A2 label and fade out the B2 label. And let's go see what this looks like. Okay, so A becomes A squared, B becomes B squared. We wait for a couple seconds. Then we're going to watch that triangle rotate. Then we should fade out A squared, B squared, and then move those two right there. Notice C's still on top, which is great. Then we're going to fade this out, rotate it. And so we're just going to do the exact same thing now, but with the C by C square. So I'm going to take this label. I'm going to do that. I'm going to call it C2 label. It's C squared, and I'm going to move it to C square. Now I haven't drawn C square here yet, so I have to copy and paste it and do it right after I draw C square. So here I've done that, C squared. I'm going to go back up. I'm going to take this exact same code that I had, and I am going to have that happen exactly after I fade in C square. So I'm going to wait for a second after I fade in. I'm going to transform the C label, the C to C squared label, and I'm going to fade in the C squared label 1. I'm going to wait. We'll go to animation 13. So we see that the two squares shift over. Now they are covered by these two blue squares float and rotate, and then move around. And then hopefully C moves to C squared, which is perfect. Fade that in. Okay, so now at the end here, we sort of want those things to all be there. So I want that C squared to move over there. Okay, so that means I'm going to have to do a little bit of fixing. C square, it arranges, and then, okay, I've shifted it. So here I need a new C2 square label, and it's just going to be C2 label copy. And then I'm going to move it to final equality, the -1. So I'm moving it to sort of the moved version of the C square. And then I'm going to have to add that here, transform matching shapes, C2 label to C2 label to C2 label 2. And if I go look at just the end animation with any luck, okay, I got to go to final equality -1. So let's try that again. It was in the wrong place, but now with any luck, C squared ends up there. I also need to take the A squared label, which no longer is showing, and I'm just going to move it to final equality 0. So I'm moving it to the A by A square, and I'm going to do the same thing with the B2 label, the B squared label. I'm going to move it to 0, 1, 2, B squared there. And then I'm just going to fade those both in. So just like I did here with fading in, I am going to fade in the A2 label and the B2 label. And so if I do that with any luck, okay, they're not there. So one thing you can do is you can move them to the front. So you do self.bring to front A2 label, and hopefully the same thing for B2 label. And they are still not there, so I'll have to figure out where they went. So fade them out, and then I'm just trying to move them in. Okay, so what I'll maybe do instead is to try this. A2 label 2 equals A2 label copy. So I'm going to make a copy of that one. And I'll try that. And I'll get rid of that. And I'll try to fade that one in and see if that works. That also didn't work. I'll try this again. Try and bring it to the front. A2 label, 2. Still not there. So maybe I'll just try again. Tech, I'll just try to create a brand new thing, not a copy, and see if this works. A squared, we're going to move that. And then I'll do the same thing with B squared. See if that works maybe. Still not working. Maybe I never removed, let's see, so A square, B square. See if we can see these show up or not. So I saw them there, they disappeared. And so I guess maybe what I want to do is I'll try this same thing. I'll try to bring them to the front right away. Self.bring to front, A2 label 2 and B2 label 2. And let's see if that works and see if they're still in front there. So they're still in front there. I wonder if they will be there after everything happens. So let's see. So we have our C by C square. It becomes a C by C square. And then we fade in our triangle, fade in our other right. Everything goes over. We fade in and they stay up top. And so the only thing left to do is to create new copies of the labels on the triangle. And to do that, I'm just going to do the same thing that I did here. And I'll have those. This will be A label 3, B label 3, and C label 3. And instead of the triangle, this one is called third triangle. And so with any luck, if I just paste those and just paste those, oops, third triangle. So copy and paste, copy, paste, paste, paste. Okay, with any luck, then I should be able to fade those three things in. So let's see if we can do that. We'll do self.play, fade in, and I don't want to write it all, so I'm going to create a small group. I'm going to put A label 3, B label 3, and C label 3 there, and we'll go to the end, see if we do it, and there they are exactly where we are. So I think that's about as good as I'm going to do today. I'm already a little long in terms of coding, but I hope maybe you learned a little something. And right after this, I'll drop the final video. Might be edited just a little bit to make it look a little better with some timing and things like that. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned a little something. Number one, about the Pythagorean Theorem and this cool hinge dissection proof, and also how to use Manim to do a little bit of coding if you want to animate some cool math stuff. Check out that website, Talking Maths in Public, so you can see other people who've entered into this animation generation collaboration challenge. And you can see all sorts of ways that they're creating cool proofs of Pythagorean theorem using various animation tools.